Hey everyone, okay, so I thought we would do a realistic foundation tutorial today, and all I'm going to be using is foundation, cream foundations for me. I always prefer cream foundations over liquids, and we're going to use a dirty makeup sponge. So let's make a start. Now, realistic foundation tutorial, what I mean by that is I think that particularly the younger Instagram and YouTube generation, even when they have very, very good skin, that seems to be the need to apply a lot of foundation. So this is a more realistic take. So I'm just going to get some foundation onto the sponge, and with relatively light pressure, I'm going to start to cover the skin, and I'll deal with the hairline at the end. But the first thing I'm doing is just trying to get a little bit of product onto the skin, and I'm holding it, if you can see that, with kind of this much pressure. So I'm not squeezing it, I'm just holding it very lightly. And the goal is to give the skin the thinnest amount of coverage possible while doing the job that we want it to do, which is to just make our face look better than it did without it. So I'm using a very kind of sheer coverage all over the entire face, into my beard line, obviously, but always looking at the skin and what I'm doing and thinking, is that enough? Or have I done too much or not enough? Rather than just applying the recommended amount, whichever that may be for you, we're just constantly trying to adjust and look at the skin. Now, to me, it just looks a little bit more polished now. So I'm just going to go right into the hairline, and I'm just kind of just blending it into the hairline area so that it kind of all just blends into one. Now, what I like to do at this point is I'm just going to assess the skin, and I'm going to add a little bit of highlight and a tiny bit of contour just to show you a different way of doing it. So let's get a brush. Use this lovely brush here by Sonia, my gorgeous friend Sonia, and I'm going to apply this, the lightest colour, and I'm just going to pop it in here. So these inner corner, because this area tends to look really pretty when it's a bit brighter. I'm going to go down the bridge of the nose, kind of midpoint for me. I'm going to highlight the nostril area, which is not for everyone. So do what looks best for your nose. I'm going to highlight the outer corners of my eye, because this area is always discoloured for a lot of people. So I'm just going to lighten that, and we'll do the obligatory, just a little bit lighter in the centre of the forehead. And then with this brush, I'm now just going to move the product down, move it around. So I'm also going to add a touch here as well. Now I'm going to take the foundation sponge on the same side that we used, and I'm just going to blend these in. I mean, it's such an old-fashioned way of doing foundation and highlight and contour and concealer, but it still really works. And why do you need to, use other techniques if the old school ones are still really completely acceptable and they do a wonderful job? And again, there's very little pressure here holding this sponge, and that is important to remember that. So these areas have just been lightened slightly, and I'm just going to apply a tiny bit to the eyelids so they're not floating. Now when it comes to any form of shading, I'm going to use the same palette because this is a skin tone friendly palette. So I'm going to take combination of these two shades here. So I'm this shade, and I'm pretty much going down to these two. But I'm going to take the end of the sponge I'm dipping it in and then I'm knocking it off on the back of my hand. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press the sides of my nose with this product. And the same thing, I'm just going to press right here at the sides of my nose to give a bit of a contour to the nose for those of you that want to. There is nothing wrong with your nose, by the way, so you do not need to do this. I'm going to take the similar vein here and I'm just going to press this area, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to press it in at this, just at the side point, and I'm also going to just dot it a little bit here. Now I'm going to take the same side, the foundation side. And remember, we're not trying to necessarily contour, we're just trying to add a little bit of dimension to those areas, just to give them a bit more depth. And when it comes to the nose, we're going to do kind of upward strokes to start to blend it. So upward strokes, go upwards. And this should be subtle. It shouldn't be, there shouldn't be these really obvious tram lines. There really shouldn't, unless that's the look you're going for. I hope it's not. And just blend. The point is that you're just getting a bit more dimension to the skin, that the skin is looking a bit more beautiful. Now let's have a quick look. A little gander. So I think we probably could do with a little bit of colour. I'm actually just going to apply just a tiny bit more foundation right here. Ironically, we're now going to put colour on that. So I'm going to use a cream lipstick. We've used all creams now. So I'm just going to grab a lipstick palette here, and I'm going to pick a kind of pinky shade. I'm just going to add a couple of dots, touch, and just a touch above the brow bone. And I'm going to take that same sponge, I'm just going to work that into the skin. This just adds a really pretty natural flush to the skin before we start to worry about powder or any of that stuff. We're just adding a little bit of colour, and that colour will come through and just look really pretty. And it's just, you just look, the skin here just looks fresher, it looks a bit brighter, it looks a bit more polished. So I'm actually going to use a powder blusher, just a touch. I'm just going to, and I'm going over this on directly over the foundation. I haven't actually set it yet. I'm going to do that in a second. I'm just taking two shades and a more angular appearance, just to give these kind of stripes. And I'm just going to blend them in. And don't worry about the cream and the powder thing. It's all going to look just lovely. So now we're going to put on a relatively light layer of powder. So just take a powder puff and now go over all your wonderful work. And you just want to go over everything. Eyelids, underneath the eye, nose. You can always go in afterwards with more blusher if you need it. It's just really lovely. So because my camera is autofocus, I mean that's pretty much, I mean that's splendid. It looks really pretty. Because my camera is doing this autofocus thing, and the camera is too far away for me to reach it to turn it to manual, so that it's hard to focus. I'm going to show you a really quick eye look, and I will explain that in more detail in another video, an upcoming video. And it's going to be a really quick one, so let's make a start. Alright, so all you're going to need to do for this tutorial is pick an eyeshadow, one colour. Doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to use a rich brown colour, like this. I'm just going to load up my brush number 6. I'm going to take a tissue, And I'm going to apply that to the outside corner of my eye, where the tail of the brow is, and angle it. And I'm going to take it right here on this inner corner. And then I'm going to take whatever's left and just wrap it all over the eyelid. So whatever's left here, just taking it on the eyelid. I'm going to open the eye and just wing it out to the highest point. And I'm going to pull it away. And we're done. Just kidding. Okay, so this is just fabulous. But we can't really leave it like that. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow that just goes up to nothing. That's what we're going to do. One single eyeshadow. I'm going to explain this in much greater detail. All you're going to do is have a mirror that's close to you, unlike I have. Take your sponge, and I want you to push this from the inner corner to the outer corner, back again. And then from this outside corner, I want you to cut it down and cut the brow and pull it up. And that's it. It bleeds it up and out into virtually nothing. And now all you need to do is put some mascara on. There you go. Really, really quick eye look. And I'm going to explain that in more detail in another video. But it's a really quick, easy way of achieving an eyeshadow look. And you can make this so simple and then get incredibly complicated with eye color combinations as you go along. But it's just a really simple, pretty easy way, and it allows the eyeshadow to go from the darkest point out to virtually nothing without having to do brow bone highlights, which can just be so incredibly unflattering on so many eye shapes. And there you go, that's it. Realistic eyeshadow tutorial with a realistic foundation, concealer, contour and highlight video. I think that looks lovely. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.